This narrative is based on an urban legend that has been passed from mouth to mouth and from one corner of the internet to another for years. There are stories you read or hear and think, just another horror story. And then, the moment you turn the lights off at night, they come back to you. Because the most frightening part isn't monsters or shadows. The most frightening part is that, even though people tell it in different ways, the same feeling remains in every version. This story is called Karadedeler. They say that in Thrace, in the village of Davutlu, when the winter fog settles in at night, the entire rhythm of the village changes. Doors lock earlier, the streets empty faster, people lower their voices, even while drawing the curtains. And in that fog, by the roadside, it's said that sometimes something stands there. Now, let me tell this story from the beginning. A young journalist leaves Istanbul, and the moment she enters Davutlu, she feels the villagers' stares before she even feels the cold. Because some places don't welcome strangers. Some places, when a stranger arrives, remember the fear they've been hiding for years. The journalist's name is Hale Batur, and the child she will entrust her camera to, in the middle of the night, is named Emir. When Hale arrived in the afternoon, there was still daylight. For the first few minutes, everything looked normal. A man chopping wood in front of a house, a woman tending to animals in a yard, children kicking a ball in the distance, the ordinary face of winter. But the moment Hale stepped out of the car and picked up her suitcase, she noticed something. The villagers weren't looking at her openly. It was as if they didn't want to meet her eyes. A man at a doorway nodded in greeting, but didn't prolong it. Two people standing in front of the tea house glanced at Hale and cut their sentence short. Even the children paused, and instead of returning to their game, they drifted closer to their homes. Hale was used to reactions like this. They're wary because I'm from the city, she thought. They get tense when they see the camera. So she didn't bring the camera out right away. She spoke first, introduced herself, tried to smile, kept her voice calm. There was an elderly woman standing in front of one house. Hale greeted her, and a shadowy expression crossed the woman's face. Without looking Hale in the eyes, she asked, "You won't stay until evening, will you?" Hale was surprised. "I'm staying here," she said, "for a few days." The woman shook her head, as if she'd heard something wrong. "Stay for the day," she said, "but don't stay for the night." Hale heard that sentence for the first time then, but she wouldn't hear it for the last time. Hale talked all day. She stopped by the tea house, went into homes, and listened at doorsteps. Some said, "Nothing like that exists." Some shut the topic down with, "We don't know anything." Others started speaking, then fell silent mid-sentence and glanced toward the door. But one pattern emerged clearly. As late afternoon approached, everyone's behavior changed. It was like the village had an invisible clock. No one said it out loud, but at the same time, everyone did the same things: tidying up, going inside, turning on the lights, locking the doors. As the sun lowered, the street emptied. Even people who had been talking at their gates minutes earlier drifted away with a quick, "All right then." Children went indoors without being called. The noise inside the tea house died down. One man said only this to Hale: "Winter comes early around here. You should go in early too." Hale said, "Okay, I'm tired anyway." And inside, she thought, they're exaggerating. Until the air outside began to feel heavy, the fog didn't arrive like a part of the night. It arrived like the night itself. The house Hale stayed in was old. The stove was burning, filling the room with a warm scent. Wood, coal, ash. Hale opened her notebook and began writing what she'd heard that day. Then she paused, because the street lamp outside seemed to have weakened. She parted the curtain. That was the first moment she truly realized how the fog settled. It wasn't like something falling from above. It was a density rising from the ground, slowly climbing up the walls. Beyond the yard fence disappeared. The line of the road vanished. Even the light from the farthest house trembled, as if it had been pushed farther away. Is this much fog normal? Hale wondered. Then she told herself. Her eyes just weren't used to it, but fog isn't understood with the eyes. It's understood with the body. And Hale felt it. Something outside. Felt close. They say that right then. Hale noticed a vague movement in the yard, not a clear image, more like a dark stain within the fog, a human-sized silhouette, as if it were standing by the roadside. Hale stared without moving. Is it a tree trunk? She wondered. A fence post? But in a village, everything has its place. A post stands one way. A silhouette standing feels different. After a while, the dark shape was gone. Hale closed the curtain and turned back into the room. She moved closer to the stove. Normally, that's when a person relaxes. But they say Hale didn't, because to relax, something has to be over. And what Hale felt wasn't over. It had only withdrawn. They say Hale didn't sleep that night, getting up again and again, approaching the window, and each time stopping before fully opening the curtain. Because sometimes a person fears that if they look, they might invite something in. Day 2, when the word Karadedeler is spoken. The next morning there was no fog. The sun even showed itself. That made Hale think even more. Whatever happened at night never seemed to bleed into the day. Hale went back to the tea house. This time, conversations weren't cut off as quickly. People were still cautious. But it was clear Hale hadn't been there for days, so speaking became slightly easier. Hale asked simple questions. What do you see? When does it happen? When did you first notice it? Answers drifted around for a while. Then an old man set his tea glass down and looked at Hale in silence, not with his eyes, but as if he were looking from somewhere very old. We gave it a name, he said. A name for what? Hale asked. The man hesitated, as if choosing the word carefully. Then he said it, briefly. Karadedeler. The word rolled through the tea house like a stone. Some pretended not to hear. Some looked away. Some grimaced, as if to say, don't speak its name. In that moment, Hale understood. This wasn't one person's fear. It was the village's shared fear. And shared fear is the hardest kind, because when everyone accepts the same thing, it becomes harder to say, maybe we're mistaken. Hale made her decision for the second night. This time she wouldn't just listen. She would wait. Night 2, the wait at the door. On the second night, the fog came earlier. Hale didn't turn the room completely dark. She left the camera running, yet the camera recording didn't calm her heartbeat. As the night deepened, people say Hale sensed a vague movement outside. She could hear it, but couldn't tell exactly where it came from. Sometimes you can't locate a sound, because it isn't the sound itself that catches you, but the tension it creates. At one point, everything stopped. This is where they say Hale felt as if someone were standing right outside the door, not seeing, knowing it was there. The room didn't suddenly get colder, but the air grew heavier. Breathing felt harder. It was as if the empty space inside the house shrank. Hale stepped back a few paces. She didn't take her eyes off the door. The door didn't open. No glass shattered. There was no attack. Yet later Hale reportedly said, sometimes the most frightening thing is that nothing happens. Because when nothing happens, You talk yourself into it. So it isn't real. But what Hale felt wasn't absence. It was a presence, close, unseen. When morning came, Hale decided to leave. She hadn't witnessed anything clear, but the lack of clarity didn't lessen the fear in the village. Among the people Hale spoke to was a child named Emir Khan. In some versions, he carried water for Hale. In others, he led her to houses. In others, he simply watched from a distance. His age is always described only as a child. And in this story, the number doesn't matter. What matters is this. While adults hide their fear, children feel it directly. They don't know how to conceal it. They simply fall silent. Before leaving, Hale called Emir Khan over. She took the camera from her bag and placed it in his hands. "I'm going," she said. "But if something happens, turn this on. Record whatever you see. If you're scared, don't turn it off." They say Emir Khan understood the weight of those words. His eyes widened for a moment, then he gave a small nod, like he was saying, "Okay." Hale left the village, and the darkest part of the story begins here. While Hale is gone, a night passes in Davutlu. Those who tell this part always describe the same feeling, a silence that arrives early. In the house where Emir Khan was, the stove was burning. Conversations were kept short. No one wanted to form long sentences, because long sentences soothe you. And in that house, no one wanted to be soothed. The fog settled. The window turned white. The street lamp's glow disappeared. The boundaries of the house became sharper, as if the house cut itself off from the outside world and folded inward. Emir Khan turned the camera on. For a while, nothing happened. But this nothing didn't bring relief. Because when what everyone is waiting for doesn't happen, the waiting grows larger. Then, they say, a scream came from somewhere else in the village. Short, unfinished. And then silence. Not an ordinary silence. More like another layer had been pulled over the village. No one in the house ran outside. No one shouted. No one asked, "What's happening?" Some describe it as freezing in fear. Others say, "We already knew," which is true. No one can say. But in that moment, the air inside the house changed. A disturbance was felt at the door. The door didn't open, but it was as if something outside tested it. As Emir Khan held the camera on the door, they say the adult's breathing changed. Someone's lips moved, as if whispering a prayer. Someone else simply stared. Then footsteps and hurried movement were heard outside. Then a crash. Something knocked over, and silence again. Emir Khan took a step. At that moment, the camera shook and fell. The image turned sideways. The frame caught the floor. Feet moving back and forth in panic. Flickering shadows. The voices weren't clear. Half words. Muffled breaths. Incomprehensible murmurs. And after a point, the house itself went quiet. The recording continued. Then a long silence began. Those who describe it say, it felt like the inside of the house had been emptied, because it wasn't the silence of they aren't speaking. It was the silence of they aren't here. Afterward, the rest changes depending on who tells it, but certain fragments repeat. They say 7 people died in the village. They say Emir Khan's name was among them. There are versions in which Hale Batur tried to return to retrieve the camera, and then disappeared as well. Some say her belongings were found near the village. Others say only, she left, and she never came back. From there, everything scatters like fog, because urban legends don't end cleanly. The ending shifts from ear to ear, but the feeling doesn't change. They say that when winter fog settles over Davutlu at night, no one wants to go near the yard gate, because when you don't know what something is, you're afraid. But sometimes something worse happens. You feel it standing, right on the other side of the door, and you believe that if you open that door, you won't return. That's why, in some villages, fog isn't just a weather event. Fog is sometimes a reminder. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, so you won't miss new uploads. And if you tap the notification bell, you'll be alerted the moment a new video goes live. Also, tell me in the comments, do you think this is just a legend? Or is there something else beneath what's been told? See you in the next story. And tonight, before you turn off the lights, take one more look at the window, just to be sure.